Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 96 of the Atlas Annuity podcast. My name is Marty Becker. I'm the owner and founder of Atlas Financial Strategies in St. Louis, Missouri, where we specialize in safe money retirement strategies. In this episode, we're actually going to go through a recent case study about a couple who contacted me after speaking with their advisor at Fidelity. So kind of the background on this is it's a married couple, ages 67 and 61. So a little bit of a gap in age. They're both fully retired in the next 12 months. So they're looking for $10,000 per month in guaranteed income in addition to their Social Security. So a pretty big case here, okay? These two have done very well for themselves and they've been very smart in their investing and savings. Now, their current portfolio is at about a 70-30 mix. So they're pretty heavy in equity still based on their ages and their time of retirement, okay? That's still pretty heavy in stocks. Their withdrawal rate based on their current assets is right at 3.9% or right at that quote 4% rule. Now, why is that important? Because we know, based on these studies from economists, how much should people be withdrawing from their portfolio is based on how long they think they will need that portfolio to last. Now, the younger spouse in this couple is 61 years old. So we need to be planning for at least 35 years for this portfolio to last. Okay. So based on the latest studies, a 4% withdrawal rate would give her about a 93% chance of a successful outcome, meaning the money would last for 35 years. Now, that's relatively high. I guess it depends on what your personal outlook is and what you consider safe. Personally, for me, if I'm getting on an airplane and the pilot says we have a 93% chance of making it to our destination, I'm getting off the plane, especially if there is a safer way to get to the destination. So kind of the background is they were recommended by Fidelity to fund a SPIA, that's a single premium immediate annuity. Now with those, you can defer them up to 12 months. Anything beyond that, it becomes a deferred income annuity, which can either be a single premium, kind of like this one, which normally don't pay as well, or it can be a fixed indexed annuity with an income rider. And the longer you defer it, the bigger the income gets. So they were recommended to fund the SPIA with a good company. I know the company, I do business with them, with a premium just under $1.75 million to create that $10,000 per month starting 12 months from now. And it also offered a return of premium as a death benefit. If you don't know what that means, a return of premium means any dollar that has not been paid back would get passed on as a death benefit. Once the 1.75 million has been paid back, there's no more death benefit, but the income is still guaranteed no matter how long both of them live. Now, the positives about this is this approach, it's simple, it's clean, it's suitable based on their assets, and it's easy to understand. Okay. But really, the most important question is, does this improve their situation? Because if it doesn't, then there's no point in doing it. They should just stick with what they're doing. So I actually ran the scenarios for a worst case and a best case outcome. Now, if you've watched any of my original video series, 20% More Spendable Income in Retirement, you know there's 4 key indicators that we look at to see if a plan is beneficial or detrimental. So the 4 key areas are investment net worth, the withdrawal rates, the reliability of the income, and how much discretionary liquid assets they would have beyond the amount of money it takes to produce the income they need. Now, the red line is doing what they're doing with their 70-30 portfolio and is based on the amount of income they need with inflation built in there. The green line is if they implemented an annuity that pays them $10,000 a month for life. So we can see in a worst case scenario, because of the amount of stocks that are weighted in their portfolio, if we go into a negative sequence of returns using the actual returns of the S&P 500 going back to 2000, they would run out of money late 80s, early 90s. Okay, that's a problem. That's a big problem. But again, this is our worst case scenario. With the annuity, their withdrawal rates always stayed at about 3% throughout their entire lifespan. And this is going all the way to age 100. The reliability of income improved greatly as well, because the only other source of guaranteed income for this couple would be Social Security. And then the discretionary liquid assets improved dramatically, even in this worst case scenario. If they kept doing what they were doing and we went into a negative sequence of returns, so the market started to crash when they retired, they would have no discretionary liquid assets basically for the rest of their life. If they implemented the annuity that paid them $10,000 a month, even though they put $1.75 million of their portfolio, it freed up the rest of their money that they could dip into it if they needed it for emergencies or large purchases. That's huge. Now, we can't be fear-mongering here. If we're going to look at a worst case scenario, we have to look at a best case scenario, meaning what would happen if the market takes off right when they retire, and using the returns of the S&P 500 from 1995, where there were 5 huge years in the S&P. So that would be a positive sequence of returns. Well, that turned out really well. And you can see, if you're watching this on video, there are some points where what they're doing right now would put them ahead a little bit. Okay, but in the long run, it's a dead even break. And even all the way to age 100, they actually come out a little bit ahead using the annuity strategy. Now, this is what I call a no harm, no foul situation, because you're going to end up in the exact same place as far as your net worth in the long term, even if you fund that annuity with all of that money from the portfolio. However, all the other indicators came out way ahead, meaning the reliability of income, how much is coming through the door on a guaranteed basis, that improved greatly. The withdrawal rates actually always stay under 2% from the rest of the portfolio, and that's mainly just to offset inflation. And then their discretionary liquid assets were always way higher as well. So at the end of the day, in a worst case scenario and a best case scenario, funding the annuity is a good idea. So now that we know putting the money into the annuity improves all 4 key indicators, the real question becomes, and this is why they reached out to me, is there a smarter way to do it? So in the Atlas annuity strategy, we used 4 different annuities. And I should preface this that no decision has been made with this couple yet, and I'm going to get into why that is. But this is what I did and what I came up with to help everyone who listens to this understand, if you've been given a recommendation, whether it's by Fidelity or Edward Jones or Schwab or now BlackRock, all these big capital management firms are getting into the annuity game. You know why? Because it's undeniable that annuities improve the overall outcome of people's retirement. And there's been tons and tons of studies on that, and we just showed it mathematically just a couple minutes ago. Here's what I came up with for this particular couple. We would use 4 different annuities. Annuity number 1 would pay $10,000 per month for the first 5 years. And again, this is starting 12 months from now. Annuities number 2, 3, and 4 are deferred for 6 years. And then they pay a total of $10,000 per month for life after the first annuity stops paying. So the overall outcome of this, which is the most important part, using multiple annuities and the individual benefits that they each provide, save the clients $133,000 in premium, or 7.5% less than what they would have to put in with the Fidelity plan. Now, it's the same income, the same timeframes, the same guarantees, the same safety, just less capital committed. So they're literally keeping $133,000 in their pocket by using this strategy. And because we used 4 different companies, we also spread the liability and the risk across multiple companies just for an extra level of safety. Now, what is the downfall to the Atlas strategy? Well, the more efficient approach, it involves multiple annuities, and potential clients start getting confused with multiple illustrations from different companies. And the 3 deferred annuities that we talked about that would kick on after annuity number 1 stops paying, well, they have income rider expenses. Well, now there's questions about the fees and things like that, which are all legitimate questions. But what most people don't realize is Every company calculates their income rider expenses. So then when you throw 3 illustrations in front of somebody and they're all calculating fees different, the death benefits are different, it starts to become very confusing. And I totally understand that because the fixed indexed annuities, they're harder to understand, even though they give you a guaranteed illustration. This is what you put in. This is how much income you get for life. This is the death benefit. But they're harder to understand because they all have internal growth components that changes the death benefits from year to year. So you may see a death benefit going down before you start income, and then it starts to go back up. And then the income starts, and then the death benefit starts to go down again. So it's very confusing. I hate that they do the illustrations that way, but it's always best just stick with the guaranteed illustration page. This is what you put in. This is the income you get. This is the death benefit on a guaranteed basis. Anything above and beyond that, icing on the cake. And let's add in that I have a very uncanny ability to over-explain and overcomplicate things, probably like I just did during that explanation. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It is very simple when you look at it from a 30,000-foot view. But when you start getting into the details of it, people's mental bandwidth just gets overloaded. And I totally understand that. And part of that is my fault because that's just how my brain works. Now, what is the upside to the Atlas strategy? So even with the rider expenses, so the fees inside of those 3 annuities, the clients come out way ahead in the long run because, again, it's taking less money to get the exact same benefit. And multiple annuity companies means redundancy and safety. Now, again, we're not talking about B-rated companies here. These are all A-rated companies that we were looking at. But because the annuities are separated, the other benefit is if the income needs change in the future, they can actually stagger the income start dates. So let's say annuity number 1 pays for the 5 years. Okay, now we're down the road and maybe they got an inheritance. Maybe their equities are doing incredible and they don't need to start the income from all 3 annuities. Well, they can start it from 1 and let the other 2 continue to grow and the income will get bigger down the road. They could turn on 2 of them. They could turn all 3 of them on. But what it does is it gives them options to stagger the start dates. And again, if they want to stick with the exact plan that we came up with, great. We turn all 3 of them on at the same time. Boom, $10,000 a month for life. And although simplicity is valuable, outcomes matter more. So again, it's the same income, the same guarantee, less capital committed. Now, if you're an existing client or if you're finding the strategy interesting, before you pick up the phone and start calling me, let's talk about when does a strategy like this work the best? Well, in my experience, there's really 3 criteria for this type of strategy to work. It's clients that need income to start within 12 months. Okay, so you need an income 1 year or less from the day that we implement it. Okay, normally the client is in their early 60s and or they have an age gap between the spouses of 5 years or more, because the younger spouse is normally the one that is, for lack of a better term, dragging down the payout rate. So they're going to get less money because of the younger spouse. So a strategy like this that uses that 5-year payout, it allows the younger spouse to age a little bit while the other annuities are deferring and getting bigger, but the younger spouse has also gotten older in that time frame, which also increases the payout rate. So it works very well in these type of circumstances. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up with an analogy here, because again, I have a real tendency to overcomplicate things, but let's just kind of use a simple analogy here that you're building a house and your only requirement is that the foundation lasts your entire lifetime. Okay, build on a solid foundation. Same thing for retirement. One builder gives you a bid and he says, okay, we're going to pour one massive slab of concrete. It's simple, it's strong, and it'll hold up forever. Perfect. Another builder comes along and says, well, we can actually engineer this foundation using different supports, gives you the same strength, the same lifespan, but it uses less material, which means it costs less. So both houses stand for life. One just ties up more concrete than is necessary. And that is the difference between these 2 annuity strategies. They both guarantee income for life. Just one uses $133,000 less material to do the job. Now, again, if you're looking at a strategy like this, and don't let the numbers scare you, okay? This is a unique couple who have, again, done very well for themselves. The numbers work the same regardless of the amounts, okay? Remember, it was about 7.5% less premium in this particular strategy. Now, if you're new to annuities and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to highly recommend that you go to atlasannuity.com, click on the videos tab, and watch my video series, 20% More Spendable Income in Retirement, to really get an idea on how annuities work and how best to use them. If you've been watching this podcast for a while and you have questions about annuities for your personal situation, again, go to atlasannuity.com. That takes you directly to my calendar page. Book a short Zoom call, get your questions answered, and we can find out if the Atlas Annuity strategy is right for you. And as always, we appreciate you joining us. If you're liking the material, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, the podcast, the YouTube channel, all that helps us get more exposure out there. And of course, if you know someone that could benefit from hearing this information, please share it with them. And as always, I do sincerely thank you. We're in the holiday season. I want to wish everybody happy holidays. This is Marty Becker, wishing you all the best in your financial education. We'll catch you in the next episode.